Oh my goodness.
From putting opponents into headlocks
We got some heated exchanges going on here.
to nearly ending another player's life on the court.
And now we got a fight. We have a legitimate fight here.
These are the dirtiest players in NBA history. Ron Artest, better known as Meta World Peace, was not about peace whatsoever. In 2004, famously known as the Malice in the Palace,
We got big trouble here in the Motor City.
Ron Artest was the center of attention on that specific night. From causing a disturbance on the court to outright fist-fighting a fan, the league was put on notice. Ron Artest was not the one to play with. I mean, dude was a defensive menace on all ends of the court. He earned himself a spot on 4 all-defensive teams, also winning a Defensive Player of the Year award. This required a heavy bag of tricks, or should I say hits.
Has to hustle. Got it to the rim, and Artest. Oops, some elbows, and
But hey, if you need more proof, you can just ask James Harden. World peace? More like world war. But this next player potentially saved the Golden State Warriors from never making the NBA Finals. After his 16-year-long career, none of them in which he was considered an all-star, Zaza Pachulia will be remembered for all the wrong reasons.
they have a foul to give. And there it is as Pachulia knocks down Westbrook, then stands over him.
Now, the plays that earned Pachulia the reputation of being one of the dirtiest players of all time came during his bid with the Golden State Warriors, where he and Draymond Green made for a fearsome dirty duo. I mean, at this point in his career, Zaza didn't have much going on for him outside of being an enforcer where he thrived in his role. But his most notorious dirty play may have saved the Warriors from being eliminated in the 2017 Western Conference Finals. With just 8 minutes left in the third quarter of Game 1, Kawhi Leonard would go up for a jump shot where Pachulia would slide his foot under him like a doormat.
Gingerly getting up. Again, that's what they call all the time when you get your feet into the landing space of the shooter.
Not only did this injure Kawhi, but this forced him to miss the remainder of the series, where the Warriors went on to sweep the San Antonio Spurs. Another target was Russell Westbrook. In a regular season game between the Warriors and Oklahoma City Thunder, it seemed like Pachulia had a personal beef with this dude, fouling him on multiple plays. I mean, just take a look. He even tried to purposely injure Westbrook by flat out falling on him. Westbrook said in a post-game interview he would get his ass back,
He hit me on the heart, but sorry, I'm gonna get his back.
in which he kept his promise.
The Pistons are still trying to get there. Oh, Westbrook with a really hard foul inside.
Did you say hard fouls? Psychological warfare? You must be talking about Kevin Garnett. Garnett was next level when it came to tormenting his opponents. Not only was this dude one of the best trash talkers of all time, but he also had his fair share of dirty plays. And yeah, his trash talk was extremely out of pocket. Nothing was off the table for him to bring up. Seriously. From allegedly telling Carmelo Anthony that his wife tasted like Honey Nut Cheerios, to Charlie Villanueva that he looked like a cancer patient. This dude was a menace. Joakim Noah once told him he grew up a big fan of Garnett, in which Kevin replied, "Get off my dick." His trash talk was unmatched. But hey, KG had his fair share of dirty plays as well. There are countless examples. Garnett was out here throwing elbows, fighting for rebounds, cup-checking Channing Frye, and smacking Tim Duncan upside the head just because he felt like it. In the 2012 playoffs, Atlanta Hawks co-owner Michael Gearson Jr. went as far as claiming that Garnett was the dirtiest guy in the league. While the next player didn't play the mind games that KG did, he was credited with intentionally injuring a handful of players.
You're right. That's a fifth floor problem.
Not in my house.
Now, it's undeniable that Dikembe Mutombo was one of the best shot blockers that the game has ever seen. But it's not nearly talked about as much of just how dirty he was. This dude had no regard for hurting his opponents while attempting to block their shots, and oftentimes threw flying elbows to gain positioning. So, this led to him injuring more players than anyone else in NBA history. While there is no way of tracking exact numbers, Mutombo ended his career with at least 25 bodies under his belt.
Not always comfortable, but necessary, and this is why. Back on December 29th versus Houston, James gets hit in the cheekbone by Dikembe Mutombo's elbow.
From breaking noses and cheekbones to forcing players to get their forehead and lips stitched, Mutombo did it all. This dude didn't care who was in the way and would take shots at some of the league's biggest names. The most notable players to face his wrath of cheap shots were Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Vince Carter, Ray Allen, and Yao Ming. Now, despite not having a body count quite as high as Mutombo's, you can say this next player created an entire strategy around his dirty plays. Bruce Bowen is one of the dirtiest players that the game has ever seen. I mean, despite being one of the best premier defenders of the 2000s, making 8 appearances on the all-defensive team, you could argue that he is still best remembered for his dirty doings. Bowen frequently would place his foot under a shooter, forcing them to land on his foot, many times leading to ankle injuries. And yes, he would always attempt this on the opposing team's best player, trying to force them out of the game. Bowen used this strategy 3 times over the course of 5 seasons against Vince Carter. While these did not lead to any serious season-ending instances, it was clear that Carter suffered injuries. Now, after this dude tried Carter for a 3rd time, Carter sprung up and charged Bowen like a bull before he was restrained by officials. Bowen was fined 4 times and suspended once for a handful of dirty plays, including landing a flying kick on Wally Szczerbiak's face.
Bit interesting here in the 3rd, Wally Szczerbiak is kicked in the face by Bruce Bowen.
And kicking Chris Paul while he was on the ground.
Dives on the floor, and Bowen.
I mean, this guy really knew how to use his legs. To put the cherry on top of Bowen's prolific career of being one of the dirtiest players of all time, after his retirement, when he was asked to comment on his image of being a dirty player, he doubled down, saying, "It's who I am." But hey, Bowen walked so this next player could run. There's a chance that the reel of dirty plays are longer than his highlights, and his career almost came to an end after his most recent incident. Draymond Green easily takes the cake for being one of the dirtiest players to ever play in the league. He remained out of the spotlight during the early years of his career, but his constant cheap shots would be put on blast as the Golden State Warriors began to flourish as one of the most dominant dynasties in history. Now, during their 2016 playoff run, Green threw a kung fu kick during a layup attempt, nailing Adams right where it hurts.
Green putting a move on Adams. And he is fouled. And down goes Adams once again.
While he would avoid suspension for his low blows on Adams, he would not get as lucky in the 2016 NBA Finals. After LeBron James stepped over Green while he was on the ground, this dude jumped up and swung at the King's family jewels.
Takes a little swing and misses after he objected to.
This was the final straw for the league office, and Green received a 1-game suspension. Not even teammates were safe from Draymond. In a team practice, Green and Jordan Poole were seen chirping back and forth, leading to Green confronting him. Now, after a shove from Poole, Draymond would escalate things to the next level. This dude threw a Superman punch. Let's see that again. Another infamous moment during a Warriors playoff run came after fighting for a rebound with Klay Thompson. Sacramento Kings big man Domantas Sabonis would fall to the ground where Green would stomp his chest into pieces.
As he goes out, watch him grab Draymond right there. Now, that right there.
This led to a bruised sternum and Draymond getting another 1-game suspension. In other news, during a game between the Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Thompson and Jaden McDaniels got into it, nearly ripping the jerseys off each other's backs.
Here's a look at it. So they're kind of coming together. Clay's boxing him out, puts his hand on his jersey. Jaden McDaniels puts his hand on his jersey. Now they're swinging each other around.
So, Rudy Gobert would involve himself trying to break things up, only to have Draymond come and save the day with a WrestleMania move. He put Gobert in a straight-up headlock. This was the final straw for Adam Silver, or so we thought. He suspended him for 5 games, forcing him to undergo anger management classes. Not long after coming back from his 5-game vacation, Green decided to take up boxing lessons with Mike Tyson and practice his right hook on the Phoenix Suns big man, knocking Nurkic out on the hardwood. There was no point of return for his actions after that night, and Adam Silver had Draymond suspended indefinitely. Allegedly, this was too much for Green, and he was willing to retire from the league rather than clean up his act. Along with these major incidents, he is oftentimes near the top of the league, if not the league leader, in technical and flagrant fouls year after year. I mean, you would think that this should be enough to earn the top spot on this list, but you would be wrong. But this next player is the undisputed pound-for-pound champion of dirty players. This dude is known for laying people out. Bill Laimbeer is commonly known as the dirtiest player the NBA had ever seen, and they would be right. I mean, Laimbeer himself could have been the mascot for the bad boy Pistons. They were a core that thrived themselves on playing a nitty-gritty, downright dirty style of play. Laimbeer was known for laying players out anytime they came into the paint. Along with this, he was one of the best instigators of all time and had a talent for baiting his opponents into fights.
We got a fight. Laimbeer and Doherty really going after it. Doherty's on the floor.
Laimbeer also had a notorious beef with Michael Jordan.
There's a fight right there. Laimbeer and Jordan. Yes, indeed. There are punches thrown. Oakley.
As a result of his constant hard fouls, Jordan went as far as to take to the media to voice his frustrations. In a 1992 interview with Playboy magazine, he was asked, "Is Laimbeer worse than the rest of them, even Rodman?" Jordan replied, "No, I think Rodman and Laimbeer are just alike. They try to live up to their image of being assholes." Now, Laimbeer wasn't just dirty. He didn't care what anyone thought. That was his game, and he played it proudly. That's why he'll be known as the dirtiest of them all.